Hi guys, it's Erin. So today I want to share with you my September TBR. I keep wanting to say August, like August is repeating, but no, it doesn't need to repeat. So September, happy September. I am just kind of starting to figure out how to balance or like integrate the stuff I do on like BookTube and Bookstagram with my new school life, which is very busy, but I think I'm gonna be able to work things out. I'm kind of figuring out like when I can edit, when I can film, stuff like that. So anyway, that's why it's September 2nd and I'm filming my TBR. If you saw it from the thumbnail, there's a lot of books in the pile and it's stupidly ambitious, but except maybe not, I don't know. A final housekeeping thing, well, a couple of housekeeping things. So I have a couple of videos filmed that are just gonna take me a little bit longer to edit, including the promised grad, like first week of grad school vlog, and I also have a like semester TBR for all of the kind of fun books that I'm reading for grad school. No, it's all of the books, even the not fun ones. It's just all the books. And then finally, I live near my apartment complex's pool, and there's a whole bunch of people hanging out and having lots of fun, which is awesome, but you might hear them, so I gotta film, so noise. It's really not cold out, but it's cold inside, so sweatshirt. Alright, so what I'm gonna do when school is in session is include in my TBR the books that I have to read for class, because that definitely influences my kind of choices otherwise, and they're the only books that I'm definitely for sure gonna read that month, so we're gonna include them. So one of the books that I'm gonna read this month for class is Charlotte Temple by Susanna Rowson. This was one of the first popular American novels. It was written in the really early 1800s and is about a woman named Charlotte Temple, and it sounds really like sensational. She like falls in love and gets married or pregnant or something, and it's ruined and everybody adored the story. It sounds very dramatic, but I'd never heard of it before this. So if you like early literature and you want to read something like early American literature and you want to read something by a woman, check this one out, I guess. Then I am also reading Vanity Fair by, what is his name? W.M. Thackeray. William McAfee Thackeray? Something like that. My stack of books is so big that I can rest my elbow on the, yeah. This is a story with a kind of anti-heroine, a woman named Becky Sharp, who's just this like obnoxious social climber. That's kind of all I know. I know that there's two threads. There's kind of Becky's social climbing and then her friend's experiences also, and the friend apparently is much nicer. I've been wanting to read the book for a long time. It's just like really long. This edition is like 700 pages, but the font is really tiny. It's like a 1,000-page book. The novel is subtitled A Novel Without a Hero. So if you like anti-hero kind of like books and you want to read a classic, you might try digging into this one. And then I am currently rereading Our Mutual Friend by Charles Dickens. This is about a group of people who all in some ways have something to do with this one person, our mutual friend, but they don't always know it. It's kind of a mystery. The story starts out with the death of the heir of this fortune, and the man had left a really weird will, and it kind of turns into a mystery, like who gets the money, who is this one person who's kind of suspicious. It's a love story. This is Dickens' last completed novel, and in my opinion definitely one of his best, and it's well worth the 800 pages that it takes to read it. I'm really enjoying reading it for the second time, knowing the kind of answer to all of the questions that get asked throughout the book, because you can see Dickens already kind of like threading things to out, like sending threads out that will eventually come together. It's really cool. So I'm looking forward to talking about those in my classes. I will be reading a bunch of other stuff too. That's not all I'm reading this whole month, but pretty much everything else is like handouts. So we read lots of like scholarly articles, and I'm reading some textbook chapters. So this is like, I don't know, 20% of what I'm reading this month for school. So everything else is highly caveated with if I have time. I do read kind of in the evenings, like I'll read for 30 minutes or an hour before bed, depending on how tired I am and what time it is. And I'm a pretty quick reader, and I've been reading like short YA, so I have been able to kind of continue to keep reading. I kind of do this instead of watching TV. I don't really watch TV very frequently, and so this is kind of my like chill out thing. And so to that end, I have a number of books here. The first one is one that I'm definitely going to be reading after I just made all those caveats. I'm taking part in a really cool read along that's being hosted by Literary History over on Instagram, and what we're basically doing is reading through The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings through from September through December. And fall is usually when I reread and revisit Tolkien's books. I did just reread everything last year, but I think it's going to be really comforting to come back to this, and the reading is nicely spread out in a manageable chunk, and like if I have to sit down and catch up 1 week or something, that's fine. So anyway, this month we're reading The Hobbit, and I'm super excited. It's been a while since I've read The Hobbit. I think I can't actually remember. This is the 75th anniversary edition cover. I love it very much. Yeah, it's The Hobbit. There's a hobbit. He lives in a hole in the ground, and then a wizard comes and says, "You're gonna go on an adventure with a bunch of dwarves," and the hobbit's like, "I don't really want to, but okay." And then there's a dragon and elves and mountains and stuff. So if you don't know what The Hobbit is, you should read it. Going along with a fantasy theme, I picked up Sabriel by Garth Nix today at the bookstore. The local books, like Half Price Books, was having a 20% off sale for the holiday weekend, and so I picked up a couple of things. I don't know a whole lot about this. I've kind of seen it around the like book community, with recommended and discussed by people who like fantasy. It is a fantasy. It's a closed world fantasy about a woman named Sabriel who has to like travel into this ancient kingdom, the Old Kingdom, to do something. Like I said, I've heard good things about the story, and I picked it up and I read the prologue, and I was just like so immediately sucked into the world that I knew I just had to buy it. I was actually kind of trying to talk myself out of it by reading the first chapter, and it just like miserably failed. So I'll talk more about it when I know what's actually gonna happen. I also picked up The Fall of Gondolin. Barnes & Noble is also having a huge sale, and I got this way discounted. It's great. This cover is so beautiful. I just want it on my wall. Can we just stare at that? And then there's like a dude. Let's turn. Tour. I get them mixed up. This is all of the versions of The Fall of Gondolin. So in Tolkien's larger mythos, there's 3 major stories that he kind of saw as grounding the First Age stuff. So the like pre-Lord of the Rings histories. One was the Children of Húrin, one is Beren and Luthien, and the last one was The Fall of Gondolin. And Tolkien never actually completed any of these stories to his own satisfaction. They exist in a lot of different variants, and his son kind of edited the variants together to give us the chapters that we have in the Silmarillion. So these are all of the variants. He did this also, Christopher Tolkien also did this with Beren and Luthien. I was a little disappointed. I wanted like a fuller story of Beren and Luthien instead of the variants, but it was actually really enjoyable to read all of the different pieces. They're available to read in the Histories of Middle-earth, but you need like 12 volumes to do it all, and you have to go track them down and everything. So these are just like nicely presented. You get to see how the story changes and grows over time, and so I'm looking forward to doing that with The Fall of Gondolin. Oh, I just looked at the back. Guys, it's the sea god. His name is Ulmo. That is so cool. Okay, I'm done now. I'm almost done with Lloyd Alexander's The Book of Three. I don't know why I want to call it The Sign of Three. I hate this cover. It's a horrible cover. It's just like, no. But the story is pretty good. It's about a boy named Taran who's an assistant pig keeper, basically like the ward of a lord, and he feels like nothing ever exciting happens, and then the oracular pig, yes, she tells fortunes, runs away, and he has to go catch her and falls into an adventure. This is the first of the Prydian Chronicles, and I think there's 5 books in total. I have all of them, but I've only ever read the first one, so I'd like to kind of slowly, over the next couple of months, read all of them. And so I had to reread this one. 2 other books that I need to finish in September are books that I got from the library. Not Now, Not Ever by Lily Anderson, which is kind of inspired by the importance of being earnest. So Elliot Garavush feels kind of like her mom is pushing her to do one thing with her life and her dad is pushing her to do another thing with her life. And because her parents are divorced, they're kind of like, which one's the better parent? Which one does she like more? And she doesn't want to do either one of those things. So she enters a summer camp that's like an academic competition, and the winner, there's several winners, but the winners get a full scholarship to this university where she could go and study science fiction, like literature, and that's what she actually wants to do. But the catch is that her cousin Isaiah is on the same trip, and or like at the same camp, and he also has things to hide, so that like adds some tension, and she doesn't like her cousin very much. So I wanted something cute and fluffy and kind of like to take me out of my deep serious books, and so this was fun. I read her first book, The Only Thing Worse Than Me Is You, which is a Much Ado About Nothing retelling, which I just like had to read, and I liked it so much that I wanted to pick up her other works. This one features some characters from from The Only Thing Worse Than Me Is You. I also picked up The Undead Girl Gang. This came out earlier this year, and I've heard really good things about it, and it's by the same author, so I figured why not. And then the last thing I got from the library is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. So I have an ebook of this. I think I got it like super marked down or something, and I started to read it, and I think I got about halfway through, and sometimes this happens to me with long ebooks. I just kind of fizzle out. Like, it's not like I'm disinterested in the story, it's just like something about the format of the book that I'm just like about. And one of the books so I've been meaning to like pick up a physical copy and read it for years. One of the books that I had to read for class last month, The Names by Don DeLillo, had some elements that reminded me a little bit of some of the things that I was reading about in The Secret History, this like cults in ancient Greece, and The Names and The Secret History are like very different books, but just some of the ideas and like themes sort of, and the like atmosphere struck me as the same a little bit, and so suddenly I kind of was like in the mood to read The Secret History, so I picked it up. Gonna give it another try. I know a lot of people, at least on the book Instagram, in the book Instagram world, really love this book, so I'm excited to kind of finish it and see what I think. So that is my really admittedly rather large pile of books. In my defense, I am halfway through 3 of them. One of them is a reread. Yeah, that's all I got. One of them's short. Am I gonna finish all of these? Who knows? It's only 10 books. My average is like 13, so we're doing good. It's good. It's fine. Everything's good. Oh boy, yeah. So check out my September wrap-up if you're watching this later, or hang on for that to see what I actually read, because it's an adventure for all of us. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!